In this lesson, we will explore the fundamental concept of variables, their importance, and how they are used in Excel VBA. Variables are placeholders used to store and manipulate data in computer programs. They act as containers that hold values such as numbers, text, date, or object during the execution of a program. VBA supports several data types that can be used to declare variables. Variable types generally fall into two categories, which are the numeric and the non-numeric variable types. The numeric variable type stores number-based data, while the non-numeric stores everything else. Now let's look at the numeric data types. The first one, we have the byte. The byte stores small positive numbers. We hardly use this when we're writing our VBA code because we mostly do with bigger numbers, which leads us to number two, which is integer. This is one of the most commonly used numeric data types. Integer stores numbers that won't have a decimal. So in other words, integers are used to store whole numbers. Then the next one, we have long. Long is a longer form of byte. So instead of using byte, you can use long. Maybe you want to deal with a more bigger positive numbers. But long is a longer form of byte. Then we have the single. Single stores number that may have decimal. So if you are working with value that may have decimal, then you can use single. Then we now go to double. Double is a longer form of single. They can store very large negative or positive range with high precision, and also they can also be used for percentage. So that is what we can use double for. Then lastly, we have the currency. This is mostly when you are dealing with values that has to do with currency. So these are for exact calculations. Now, what about the non-numeric data types? We have the string. I'm very sure you are conversant with that because we have been using it from the start. So string is used to store text. And we have the boolean. Boolean stores binary results like true or false, yes or no. And we have the date. This is used to store date and time. Then we have object. Object stores object addresses like range, cells, and every other stuff that has to do with object. Then we now have the variant. Variant is a special data type that can hold any type of data. Unlike other data types that have special format, for example, integer for whole numbers, string for text, variant data type is versatile and can adapt to store different types of values. When you declare a variable as a variant, you don't need to specify its data type. VBA will automatically determine the data type of the value being assigned to the variable at runtime. This flexibility makes the variant a convenient choice when you need a single variable to handle different data types, or when the exact data type of the value is unknown or can change during the program execution. If you look at the screen right now, we declare var as variant. As far we have done this, we can assign any value to var. We can say var is equals to 42, which is an integer. We can also say var is equals to hello, which is a string. We can say var is equals to true, which is a boolean. Remember I said boolean has to do with yes or no or true or false. We can also say var is equals to range, which can be object value. So when you declare a variable as a variant, you don't need to specify its data type. VBA will automatically determine the data type of the value being assigned to the variable at runtime. However, it is essential to use it judiciously and consider declaring data types whenever possible to ensure code reliability and efficiency. And it is also important to use the right variable types, because if we store data as an integer, for example, and let's say we store the number 9, and later in our code, if we divide that variable by 2, which will result in the value 4.5, the decimal won't actually be stored into the system because it is expecting an integer type of value, which should be a whole number. At the end of the day, this produces error and inaccuracy into our calculations. So it is important to pay attention to our variable types. Always know in advance the value that will be assigned to any variable that you are declaring, either as a variant or as an integer or as a string. Now let's say I want to declare variables and these variables should be integer. The easiest way I can do this is to declare a different variable on every single line. So I can say dim age as integer. I can go to the next line and say sum age as integer. Then I can also go to the next one and say dim sum total as integer. Now, this is a valid VBA code. There is nothing technically wrong here. But as we can see, this takes up quite a bit of space. It takes up 3 lines of code. What we can actually do is to simplify this a little bit by writing our code like this. So we just say dim age as integer, then we include a comma, sum age as integer, include another comma, then sum total as integer. This way we can place multiple variable declarations on the very same line. There is a common mistake that beginners make whenever they are trying to emulate this syntax in their code. They write something like this: dim age, then include a comma, sum age, include a comma, then sum total, then they will now end it as integer. This is very wrong. This is a little bit deceptive because you would think that VBA would figure out that we want all 3 of these variables to serve as integers. But what is actually going to happen here is that only sum total is going to be declared as integer type, because age here, age and sum age are not given explicit data types. They are going to assume a data type of a variant. Only sum total will be declared as an integer. So when this two takes the data type of variant, it is not great in making your code efficient and quick as possible during execution. So it is very important you know how to write your variable. You either do it like this or you do it like this. Both of them are great, but this one here is very wrong. So if you see other people doing it, do not do it, because it does not make your code efficient and quick as possible during execution.